What up, honchos? Welcome to this week's
And
edition.
honchettes, maybe, hopefully.
And a couple of honchettes. Probably not, though.
Probably not.
Welcome to this week's edition of the IP address. I am Ian.
And I am Phil, who just took a swig of beer.
Yep. And we thought we'd start off this week talking about the upcoming video game from published by Sega but developed by Gearbox, Aliens Colonial Marines. In case we didn't make it clear last week, we are both huge Aliens fans. And we've both been waiting for this now. News of it came around, what, 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think the first mention I remember was maybe late 2008. And this game, from what I understand, has been in development since, I think, about 2004.
At
and
least.
they actually have screenshots from, I think it was the original Xbox version of this game. So something has been in development for a very long time. And it's just for, some reason or another, whether it's licensing or other titles taking priority in the eyes of Sega and whoever else has sort of just pushed this game back.
But Colonial Marines, I'm still really excited about. You've had some hesitation regarding the graphics.
I have, and maybe we should sort of clarify what this game is first.
Yes,
it's a 4-player co-op multiplayer mostly game. I think there's probably going to be some semblance of a single-player campaign, they always do.
It's my understanding that there's a campaign in which friends can drop in or out at any time, so which is ambitious for a multiplayer game.
But they've taken the whole factor of playing as a predator and alien out. You're just a Colonial Marine. You operate in teams of 4. I think the characters have different specialties. You can be a guy who has the big mounted gun. You can be the smart gun. You can be a guy who has the motion tracker, and you've got some other sort of sidearm. But you're not a heavy hitter. But yeah, it's shortly after the events of Alien 3. They've discovered the derelict Sulaco, which was the ship in Aliens that transported the Space Marines. Ripley's dead still, so they're acknowledging the canon of Alien 3,
which I appreciate.
Which I mean, that's regarded as being canon. So it's nice that they didn't cut it out.
Whatever makes it to the screen is canon. Sadly, considering Alien versus Predator,
right?
But considering it does a really bad job with continuity,
sure.
Yeah, what the movies do is the golden rule. So it's the same has always been said for things like Star Trek. So yeah, I think it's important to respect that and not ignore it.
Right. And it appears that there's been an alien infestation on the Sulaco, and I don't think the whole game takes part on the Sulaco. It appears that there are different chapters, and part of the game is on LV-426, the planet where they first discovered the aliens.
Hadley's Hope Colony.
Yeah, so it's there in Alien and also there in Aliens, LV-426 is. And part of the game is on the Sulaco. Maybe they go somewhere else. I don't know.
I've seen gameplay footage from both the Sulaco and on Hadley's Hope. And Hadley's Hope is just it's like a nuclear wasteland now as a result of the
explosion.
Yeah, the explosion from the atmosphere processor in Aliens. So yeah, it seems like great care has been taken to indulge continuity. One thing that's been pointed out by commenters on Kotaku and I assume elsewhere is a shortage of female Marines, which I think fairly they've said and I agree kind of disrespects sort of the thesis of Alien.
Sure, it's basically a homogenous sort of unisex culture.
Exactly, and I think you could make an argument for Alien as like a staple for female empowerment.
Right, yeah. Aside from the whole sexual overtones of the Alien, some of the rape imagery.
There's lots of sort of rape imagery, a lot of overtly sexual imagery. Yeah, the Alien design on its own. The movie is about violation, and but at the same time, I think a female protagonist's role in that is very important.
And then you get the Ripley underwear scenes.
Yep.
But anyway, back to some of my. Recently, they released a trailer which hilariously contained the tagline "100% in-game footage." Like that matters anymore.
I think it matters hugely.
Well,
considering
as long as you're not seeing pre-rendered stuff, if you're seeing anything else that doesn't look pre-rendered, then the game is going to look pretty good at this point. There's not too much difference between in-game and cutscene sort of stuff. But as long as it's not a pre-rendered like some of the Mass Effect trailers. But some of the in-game stuff looked a little flat to me. There weren't a lot of textures going on. It looked more like sort of Half-Life 2 graphics. It just did not impart a sense of reality to me.
I will say the lighting engine looks flawed.
And maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was just the lighting.
Yeah, which, that is something we tend to take for granted. I think ever since Doom 3, we've expected a lot from the lighting in our games. And Unreal Engine 3 also does a really nice job with lighting in most situations. I'm not sure what engine this game's built on.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Who knows? I am counting on the experience and being able to be a Colonial Marine, playing a lot into my enjoyment of this game.
Well, and I'm also hoping that this is a pretty early build because they do keep pushing the game back.
That's true.
So I think they're really hoping to, at least in my opinion, I'm hoping that they're going to really work on polishing the game up, and this is sort of an early release. That they're going to get it right because they have invested so much time into getting everything right. I mean, listen to the pulse rifle sounds.
Yeah.
And they sound just like they do in Aliens. The alien sounds sound right. And so I think they're going to try their best to really make this an Alien property.
My one major concern is they've already mentioned that there's going to be QuickTime events.
Right.
Which I think is, the stamp of boring gameplay and laziness in development. Give me mini games.
Yeah.
Don't give me QuickTime events. BioShock is a great example of well-integrated mini games. The hacking, I remember being a lot of fun. Even in BioShock 2, where they revised it and integrated it into real-time combat, which is stressful.
It's really stressful.
But in a game like Colonial Marines, wherein you're supposed to have squad support, I could see that being ideal.
Yeah.
Things like a hacking mini game where if you're an engineer like Hudson in the movie,
right.
you have to hack through locks to get through
while
rooms.
the other guys cover you.
Exactly, or maybe a blowtorch mini game where you have to melt the steel in the lock and you have to move your thumbstick up and down and not go too fast or you won't.
Or you have to
through.
weld a door shut.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think something like that would be excellent and not hard to integrate. Well, I mean, obviously development takes time and skill.
Right.
But if they put the effort into that they did into those goddamn button presses, I think we'd have a lot more excitement and a lot more fun with these games.
I am a little bit worried too, and I know they have to keep the game interesting from a gameplay standpoint. You don't want to just fight the same, drone aliens all the time, or if you look at the old action figures, the nurse aliens.
The nurse,
or
the scorpion.
Right, the scorpion alien or the gorilla alien, all the silly stuff they made up. But it appears that they've got some sort of special aliens in this. Like, I can't remember, they call it like a bulldozer.
It's like the bull or something.
Or the bull, where he's got this giant impenetrable hood, essentially, that he just rushes you over and over, and you have to get around behind him and flank him. And
it's long been contended that those are actually in the movie, in Aliens. In the scene where I've always thought they just look like a regular alien, but in the scene where Ripley first approaches the Queen in the hive, one of the aliens kind of creeping in from the periphery there, a lot of people have said is a bull alien, and that might just be like schoolyard talk.
Yeah.
But there is a line in the dialogue supporting it. I think it's Hudson or maybe Gorman mentions that there's like 150 civilians and livestock.
Okay.
So considering that the alien in Alien 3 took on the properties of a dog or
an ox, depending on which version you're watching.
I'm going to say theatrical cut gets precedence in canon.
Sure.
But that's just my opinion. But I mean, given that there's also a silver screen precedent for that, you could say that maybe it's allowed.
I'm curious though as to why a bull, a cow, essentially, would give you an armor-plated head.
I don't know.
They've got horns that they ram you with.
Thicker skull than a human.
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know.
Well,
we'll see. We'll see in, was it March?
Anyway, Colonial Marines. I'm very excited. Picking up the collector's edition.
And it's only $100.
It's $100. The game's already $60.
More. Yeah.
And you get a badass statue. So that can go on your desk at work, and everybody will know what a big Aliens nerd you are.
Start saving those extra pennies right now.
Exactly. So that doesn't exactly segue in But we wanted to talk about Lost and our feelings on it now. What,
Our
2 years
differing
on?
opinions. Yeah, I think 2010 was when it finally went
So
off the air.
we're coming up on very very rapidly. I think this is the 2-year anniversary of it being off the air. I hate that show in retrospect. It's funny because I think having rated it on Netflix before the 6th season was available, it was at 5 stars for me. Having seen the finale, and this it might sound hypocritical considering the fact that I'm a Mass Effect 3 apologist, but it lowered the value of the show to me all the way to a 3.
Yeah.
And it made me examine the fact that I think there was more of the show that I didn't enjoy than I did.
And that's understandable, I think. And the same thing has happened to me, to switch gears just slightly for a second here, with the American version of The Office. To me, the first 3 seasons were brilliant, and I voted them 5 stars on Netflix. And then the 4th season hit, and I didn't like it at the time. Yeah. But then as the 5th season hit and the 6th season hit, like my rating just kept going down. And for a few years there, it was my favorite show on TV.
Yeah, and it stagnated terribly.
Yep.
And it should have ended when Steve Carell left.
I hear it's just this god awful shell of its former self.
Yeah.
Even now, I mean, and that's comparing the 7th season, which is on or finishing right now, to the season before.
It hasn't even wrapped around and become a parody of itself.
Right.
It's like a husk.
Well, to me, the show was a parody of itself in maybe the 5th season,
Yeah.
where everybody in the office was hooking up with somebody else in the office.
Yeah.
Everybody had become a complete parody of themselves, where it's just like they weren't even real people anymore. It was just like Dwight was weird and a jerk.
Yeah.
Jim was just this sarcastic asshole.
Yeah. It was just kind of creatively bankrupt.
Michael Scott was just this
buffoon.
Who never got anything right. Like no matter he was.
And it's like,
not
we
human
know.
Anymore. Yeah.
You know, every character failed to grow, and if they did grow, they grew into unappealing directions.
Right.
Which maybe is like life, but. It doesn't always make for good TV.
Sure. But to get back to Lost.
But it's I think it's a fair analogy. Because that show means very little to me now. I've got the unplayed board game here,
which has ridiculously complicated rules.
Complicated and convoluted. Yeah.
Just like the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Complicated for no good reason.
Yep, and I'm sure you finish the game and you're real disappointed.
But yeah, I look at Lost a lot like Mass Effect 3, where I enjoyed such a large portion of it that I don't see the 6th season as being completely damning for the show. It did damage my enjoyment. I really was pissed off right after the finale aired. I remember the show ended and we were watching it together and we were just all just like, what?
Yeah.
It was like there was like this 10 minutes where we were just like, I can't believe they just did what they said they weren't going to do.
I remember for most of the 6th season just feeling like, okay, they've got 12 episodes to fix it. They've got 10 episodes to fix it.
Why are they introducing new characters now?
Why are they introducing new situations and not resolving any of the old ones? There was just a lot of just protracted and convoluted mess.
Now I have to admit, I didn't have the typical Lost experience. When the show debuted, to me, it did not look interesting. I thought it was just going to be this big budget sort of piece of shit.
Yeah.
And everybody was talking about it at the time, and I was like, I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to just do away with all of
kind of defiant.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was sort of like a point of pride for me that I didn't get sucked into the Lost thing, which in hindsight it was pretty stupid.
It's easy to get overwhelmed.
I just sort of got my dander up about it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really start watching it until the 5th season. Our friend really was pushing and pushing and pushing for me to finally start watching the show. And so I basically got caught up really quickly because he had all the DVDs, so I watched 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th season basically really quickly, and then he had the 5th season DVR'd at that time. So we got caught up, I think, with like 3 episodes left of the 5th season. So I was able to surf through the bullshit of the 2nd season, and because a lot of people became just so disillusioned with the show, and at least the beginning of the 2nd season, when it was just like all the Hatch bullshit, where they're showing things from 3 different storylines, and it's like the same stuff happening for 6 or 8 episodes, and then the bullshit of the 3rd season, where they're in the cages and all that stuff, and
The third season is where I got lost because sorry, that happens a lot when we talk about this show. I watched the first season on DVD. The second and third season I watched in broadcast, and I remember enjoying the second season. I was annoyed that they were introducing a new character in such a large cast already in Desmond, but. And the goofy coincidence of that he and Jack met on a track somewhere once.
See you in another life,
See you in
brother.
another life, brother. Penny, I'll always love you.
Oh, there's a video we need
we'll link to that. That's a good one. You're gonna die, Charlie. The third season in which they were trapped in a cage for most of the first half.
Polar bear cage.
The polar bear cage.
Which never came to fruition.
Nope, there was no real reason for that. Introducing a bunch of new characters, a lot of which were promptly killed off.
Yep.
So there's very little payoff there. I couldn't help but really just be annoyed. When the fourth season aired, I started watching it again. No, I take it back. I'm sorry. I think I watched the fourth season on DVD.
The fourth season, to me, was really great. Because that's when they started introducing the flash sideways and the flash forwards.
See, exactly. I watched the fourth season on DVD, and it was really great. I really enjoyed the fourth season. Fifth season was also really strong.
To me, the fourth season was really where it made the turn to sci-fi.
Yes.
Which was fascinating for me.
Yes. I enjoyed it a lot. I actually enjoyed a lot of those new characters because that's where Faraday and Lapidus and a couple of the others showed up, and Miles, who I really like. That actor has a really good,
Ken
Young. Yeah, he's got a really great, very short stretch on Sopranos in the last season. He's very good.
And he was the bad guy in Rush Hour, which almost nobody realizes.
Oh, the first Rush Hour?
Because he speaks Chinese throughout the whole
Was he
movie.
like a baby?
Well, he's actually a little older than you think he is.
Looks really young.
I think he's about 45.
Oh, no joke. He's got a lot of gray, but I thought that was like painted in.
No, that's his real hair.
Well, damn.
Okay. But he's bleach blonde in Rush Hour, and he speaks either Chinese or Korean. I can't remember what his character.
Maybe Cantonese or something. Yeah, I don't know. But so the fourth and fifth seasons are really great, and then the sixth season just took a dump.
Yep.
I think the Flash sideways were a terrible idea.
Yeah, the split reality.
Yeah, it was just it was divergent. It was ill-defined.
Well, I mean, and it also was basically what they said it wasn't going to be.
Exactly.
Because they said at the very beginning, no, the characters are not dead. No, it's not purgatory. And while they were technically correct, at the same time, the sentiment was the same.
Yeah.
That whole split reality was them and their waiting phase to move on.
Yeah. And I think the end was just saccharine and boring and
predictable.
And just
predictable in the sense that once you figured out what exactly was going on, the fade to white. I remember you saying, like, if this fades to white, I'm gonna shit myself. Or something to that.
Yeah, I was having to be so pissed.
Yeah, and then it fades to white.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, to bring this back around, to me, the show gave me enough enjoyment of. For one thing, I mean, it was a great thing to talk about with your friends. It's like you'd have your lost night, you talk about what happened, you try to make predictions as to what was coming, what you think was actually going to go on.
I think it was the last great water cooler show.
Yeah.
And it's sad to have seen that go away.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really the last thing I think before DVRs really caught on and were hugely popular.
And that's the thing is I'm discovering, after having tried to watch Game of Thrones, which I know I'm just this horrible person for not enjoying.
Yeah, you're totally in the minority.
But to me, it bored the shit out of me, and that's because of Netflix, because of DVDs, because of the instant watch. I can't watch shows on a weekly basis anymore.
It's hard.
If it's a serialized TV show, I can't do it.
Yes. So I guess that's Lost, and that's two shows that we used to enjoy and now don't.
Took a big dump on our face, even though I still look back on Lost with some fond memories.
You go ahead and do that. So tell me about the Dragon capsule.
So there were some really exciting things happening in the field of rocketry and private space travel this week, where SpaceX, which is a pretty much the premier private space travel or space I don't know what you call it. They're the ones who come up with the heavy lift and light lift rockets.
Like an aerospace
Yeah,
development
they're
firm.
an aerospace development firm, and because of the cuts to NASA and basically the inability to work within the budget that they're allotted from the government and the cancellation of the shuttle project, there's very little way for Americans to get cargo and people to space now.
Sure.
Actually, there's no way to get people to space now. We still deliver some cargo, satellites and things, but I don't think anything that was capable of delivering any sort of real payload to the International Space Station. So the Americans entered into a joint agreement with the Russians to utilize the Soyuz project. So that's how we get Americans up to the space station. So NASA basically said, we need some help in the private sector. Who is willing to, get our contract essentially for getting government astronauts?
One of the executives of this contract is a PayPal executive.
He earned almost all of his money. I think he's still the CEO. I'm not sure if he's still the CEO of PayPal, but at one point he was the CEO of PayPal. So he earned a ton of money doing that. And so then he was like, hey, I'm really into space travel. I can get this NASA contract. So for years and years, they've been developing different types of rockets and different type of capsules.
Yeah.
And they successfully launched for the first time the first private capsule to the International Space Station. They delivered some cargo and successfully returned the capsule to the Earth. And they hit their target zone.
Excellent.
Right on. I think they had some ships some miles away, which is pretty typical. But
and it's my understanding that this is still just like it's a chemical rocket.
It is. Yes.
So I don't know if it's a 3-stage type system is standard.
I'm not
for
sure
that.
exactly what the rocket is, but what they're moving toward is being able to get a manned capsule to space, and supposedly this capsule that delivered the payload to the space station will eventually be able to be converted to delivering people to space.
Excellent. Just convey life support
and so this would be a similar capsule to what took the astronauts to the moon, and who knows, in the future that could take us to Mars or whatever. That would be. Obviously, that's years and years off with technology, because there's a lot that needs to go into protecting the astronauts and being able to keep them fed and watered and sane on the way to Mars
and pooped.
Yeah, because I think right now with basic chemical rockets and gravity assist, the fastest they could get people there and back from Mars is 2.5 years.
Oy.
So,
well, I don't know. It seemed to me that if you're heading to Mars, you better plan on staying there for a while.
You need to get your ass to Mars.
Yeah, get your ass to Mars. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe one day we'll be riding one of them. And,
one day.
We'll be old and feeble.
Yep.
And crapping into vacuum cleaners for our space ride.
And we'll be like, yay, Mars.
Yeah, Mars. Mars times.
So, yeah.
We'll play bingo on Mars.
It's pretty exciting because they're obviously still making tweaks to some things, but... I think eventually the goal will be to get back to the moon. And if that's SpaceX or if that's somebody else or if that's NASA, if NASA ever gets an increase in their budget,
we can build the Newt Gingrich moon
That's
base.
right, and it can be its own state
with
voting rights and tax payage.
Gingrichia.
Or it can be like Moon, where they're harvesting helium-3 and guys are just clones.
There's just one guy.
Spoiler alert.
Shit! Spoiler. Watch Moon and then
and then watch this segment.
There's a guy who just gets cloned all the time forever without knowing it and just deteriorates into a sad little mess.
Watch that movie. It's
a fantastic movie. And the directorial follow-up, who's the
Source Code.
Yes, Source Code, which is pretty strong, actually.
I've not seen that yet.
It's pretty good. It's weird. Its big twist comes about 2/3 of the way in. So then the rest of the movie, you're just kind of like, all right, let's see how this plays out. Yeah.
And Jake Gyllenhaal's good in it?
Jake Gyllenhaal's very good in it. It's very enjoyable. Heady sci-fi. A lot of people were comparing it to Inception, and I think it shares some themes, warping of reality and whatnot. But I strongly recommend it.
So, as a heartthrob, who is your favorite heartthrob actor? Just on a pure talent level. I know I blindside you this.
Level? Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think DiCaprio counts anymore. But honestly, he's not my favorite actor in general. I love Inception, but I don't think DiCaprio is the strongest part of that.
Sure, and he's awful in Titanic.
Yeah, he's not that great. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Okay.
Yep, I think I'd say Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I've got high hopes for him in The Dark Knight.
He picks fantastic movies.
Yes, he does. Brick is astonishing. If you haven't seen it, it's like it's like a black pulp movie. Like it's like noir.
And his cat-like fight scene in Inception is some of the coolest shit
That's
of
awesome.
all time.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe liking Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the same thing as saying you like Zooey Deschanel.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
he's definitely a bit hipsterish.
yeah, maybe, but he's a cool dude. He plays guitar. I even kind of liked 500 Days of Summer.
I really like that.
You know,
movie.
and it's like I don't know. I don't want to be be a total Portland dude about it, but it had a lot of charm. He displayed a lot of talent.
He sang some Pixies at some
He sang
karaoke.
some Pixies, which endeared me to him. You know, as much as it kind of made me give him the finger a little bit. But
how dare you bring my Pixies into
don't
the
bring my
limelight?
Pixies into this. But yeah, no, I like him a lot, and he was funny as a kid too.
Yeah.
He was great on Third Rock from the Sun, and I think it's I think that says a lot about him. I think it says that the talent's pretty raw.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good question.
Yeah,
what about you?
I think I think he's definitely up there. I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal as well. He does some stinkers. He does some romantic comedies.
Oh, Prince of Persia. Man,
Hey.
he stunk up the joint in Prince of Persia.
I have to admit, I sort of enjoyed
the
that movie.
POP, really? Ben Kingsley
Just a little bit. I mean,
Ben Kingsley is the evil vizier.
it was definitely one of those movies where I could see it for what it actually was. It was a piece of shit.
man.
Just big budget Hollywood shit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was sort of cool.
It was written by the creator of Prince of Persia, which is kind of dope.
Alfred Molina was pretty funny in it.
Oh, yeah, Alfred Molina was
Yeah.
in that. The lady in that was very pretty.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah. But, I can see why folks would be peeved that, that movie's a whitewash.
Yeah.
Yep, that movie's full of white people.
Yep.
Considering it takes place in Persia. So
Speaking of Alfred Molina, I did not realize he was British until I saw.
yeah, he's like Welsh or something, right?
I can't even remember the name of the movie. It came out in the last few years, and I was like, he does a really good British accent. And then I looked him up on
built
IMDb, and that's where he's from.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, especially nerds like us, my first real exposure to him was before I realized it, Indiana Jones.
Who's in
Indiana
Jones?
He's the guy. Throw me the idol, I throw you the whip. At the beginning.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
I did not
he gets
realize
stuck through
that.
with all the spears. Yeah, at the very beginning. That's him. But then more apparently, obviously, in Spider-Man 2 is Doc Ock, which is incredible. It's the best Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
So that's Alfred Molina is your favorite teen heartthrob.
Yes, he's a good-looking man.